What is going on? Welcome to, what is this?
The Business Wealth Blueprint Podcast.
I thought this was FU Money Podcast. What's going on?
We had to evolve.
We evolved. For those of you who are watching on video, we are sitting in a brand new office.
And we're still putting door handles on.
Yeah. And there's lights in the corner. I'm sure you guys can see, so we're in the middle of renovations.
Yeah.
We won't bore the listeners who can't view the video, so we'll do a dedicated tour. If you want to see that, go check that out on YouTube.
Absolutely.
But tell me what's going on about with FU Money. FU Money Podcast.
I mean, we really spent time building the foundational content that we wanted, for sure. And we were really always had the aim of moving into what's next. What do smarter and wealthier business minds do than us and than 98% of the population? This was where we were trying to end up anyway. And now we're moving that process forward and doing a little bit of a rebrand. And that way, moving forward, you will expect to see these podcasts as labeled Business Wealth Blueprint or BWB.
Yeah, so I think the driving factor is, one, we are not getting rid of FU Money Podcast. It is becoming FU Money Fridays.
Right.
So we're still going to be having money talks.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is we're combining two podcasts. The sister podcast, which was, your current shirt says Small Biz Rescue, which is no more, with Business Wealth Blueprint.
Yeah.
We're combining the two podcasts into the one, and we're choosing the FU Money Podcast because it was the bigger one.
And why are we doing this? Because smarter business-minded people than us have showed us some strategies that it makes sense, and we're listening to those strategies and combining everything into one easily accessible place for content learning and education.
Well, another thing too is everything about our FU Money Foundations Blueprint is all the things that we all agree upon. And we promised you that our next step is basically we concluded that foundations of how finances work.
Yeah.
And our next step is what rich people know that average person, you and me, don't. And what do they primarily know that we don't, Dane?
A lot.
A lot. Yeah.
A lot in many areas. Not to mention tax strategies, partnerships, how to grow and scale businesses, what an exit strategy looks like, what a run rate on a business looks like, where to put your capital, how that capital grows, how to make it work for you, doing all the things legally that allow you to operate at a high level and keep money in your pocket and pay less to the government.
Almost everything that we're going to talk about from here on out, not everything, but almost everything, is going to be the fact that wealthy people use businesses as mechanisms.
Yes.
And Business Wealth Blueprint, formerly Small Biz Rescue, it teaches business owners how to build generational wealth.
Absolutely.
Now, Dane, some of our listeners might be interested in real estate. They're excited. They know us from here and there. And they're saying, well, I'm not a business owner, but I want to get into real estate. What do you have to say about that?
I mean, two things. One, real estate is 100% part of the bigger picture. Every smart business owner that I know has a portfolio in real estate. So we're going to tie that and keep that connection strong. It is going to be a fundamental part of how we grow this podcast and our aim in educating people. So don't ever let go of the real estate piece. Just because you don't own a business doesn't mean you can't use the strategies in which real estate allows you to operate at a high level, as we were describing.
Well, and the advanced strategies that we're about to go into, because the game plan's the same. You guys are about to get all the cool stuff. If you have real estate and you're renting it out, you are running a business. And
Absolutely.
Where most people go wrong when they listen to Bigger Pockets or they hear from their buddy Jim, just to have some rentals.
Jim.
They don't have systems or processes. They don't treat it like a business, and
Right.
it absolutely is a business.
Yeah.
And business.
Your CPA will also categorize it as a business, and it will count as additional income. How do I know? Because I always have to file that special on my end of year tax stuff. So he collects it, makes it as business revenue. There's a lot of upside to doing that. So yeah, to Hugh's point, you may not be a business owner, but you certainly are running a business.
We're going to be talking about all kinds of stuff. If you're in real estate, you can have a lot of expenses, which, depending on your legal status, meaning are you a real estate professional, are you not, depending on your tax status, you could write it off 100%. We're going to get into tax depreciation and accelerated depreciation from cost segregation studies. We're going to get into the nuts and bolts of...
But mainly the nuts.
Yeah, but mainly the nuts of what we're about. The foundation of what we're about is we teach business owners how to build generational wealth. First, by fixing their business so they have a crap ton of money.
Yeah.
And then how to properly invest it so that with ease.
Yeah.
And so many people, whether you're brand new, whether you're like, oh my gosh, I'm just some blue collar guy, I'm working at a 9-to-5 job, I'm not ready for this. No. If you were excited about our previous section of the podcast, talking about, rental property here and there, this is absolutely for you because you are running a business.
Yeah.
People who don't treat their real estate portfolio like a business, they are the ones who get in trouble.
Well, a lot of people get into this game and make it to a certain level and they never grow or know how to grow from there. What would be the next steps? How did someone go from, being a 1, 2, 3 investor or a door holder, whatever you call it, to someone who now has scaled to 300 doors?
When we, Dane, as a company, when we buy portfolios, a portfolio, for those of you who don't know, is a collection of houses. So my first purchase, which ended up being 26 houses, who are those people normally that we're buying from?
You're buying from actually a broker in this particular instance who were able to collect properties like this from renters, from people who forfeited on properties. There's a million reasons why they'll do what's called a portfolio loan or a portfolio, single family portfolio,
Right.
That's what I was getting at. And like you didn't step into this as, oh, I'm just someone who's gonna buy this. You stepped into it as a business owner. You run that asset as a business, hence why I'm here today and how you were able to hire a team, because you were, in effect, a business owner the moment you bought that portfolio.
Right. It's the fact that we bought a portfolio, and who we're buying these from are tired mom and pops who did not treat their assets like a business, who knew that real estate was important, and they dripped it out over, decades. My first 26 crack houses I bought were from a blue-collar guy who worked at the electric company in Springfield at CU.
Wow.
And all of them were in horrible condition. The wife ran the properties. He did the maintenance on the properties, and they were exhausted. They're the definition of why you should listen to this, because they did it, in my opinion, what's not the wrong way, but we're certainly buying it right. Mm-hmm. The things that we do well, and what you're going to learn from here on out, is systems and processes, having teams of people.
And what people to have on the team. Instead of hiring 5 people, you might be able to do a lot with 1 person.
Or 3, or a VA, or artificial intelligence, if you've been paying attention to the Business Wealth Blueprint podcast.
Oh yeah.
There's a whole bunch of things that are coming down the pipe. We're really excited. We're still going to have FU Money. It's just going to be FU Money Fridays instead of FU Money podcast. And we're going to be talking about these crazy things. Mm-hmm. How rich people, wealthy people are building their wealth. How they're not paying taxes, right? Did you know this year, it's 2024, they're like, oh my gosh, billionaires collected, the top 10% of billionaires enriched themselves by $212 billion this year, while the rest of us are struggling.
Yes.
What do those people actually own? Did they get that much money in their bank account? No. Their assets grew, their businesses grew. They employed people. They're the people who have jobs that are putting food on their tables and their families and their mortgages. That's what they own. Rich people build businesses. And some of those are fancy big businesses like Amazon. Some of those are, I'm a teeny tiny, if you're listening to this and you're, Jim's Mowing, Bob's Plumbing, those guys, you guys have a lot more tools, and you can play a lot more games than you think you can using business strategies. And so FU Money, the advanced stuff, or what rich people know that we don't, can be summed up by they run businesses.
Yeah. And they look at everything as an asset or a business.
Yeah.
And to something that I think we should explore sometime, it's the very same thing you did. You were a guy who was looking at buying solar. Instead, you listened to Bigger Pockets and you bought 26 crack houses instead. You effectively bought a business, and then you had the sense and obviously the processes and systems to say, well, I'm going to run this as a business. And as a result of that, you have 15 plus employees. So whether you realize it or not, this journey usually leads you down the road of either having employees, assets, or businesses outside of just your real estate holdings.
And I was just a W-2 guy. I worked in a manufacturing facility doing manufacturing things, and I was good with systems and processes because of lean manufacturing skills. I had those skills. I said, I'm going to buy real estate and I'm going to treat it like a business, because those who don't get in trouble and those who do make big wins. And this is going to be your blueprint, your step-by-step instructions on what to do so you can build your financial freedom.
Which actually is more aligned with the brand in which we were trying to create, hence the rebrand.
Is there anything we want to share with our listeners and viewers before we roll out? Don't be sad. We are still going to have a lot of money talk, because the other thing wealthy people do is they talk about money. And then from their talk about money is they'll turn around and then they'll do some kind of strategy that uses a business or two.
Right.
And so one of the easiest things, unless you're in California, is we're going to get you talk about the process of forming an LLC, talk about what it's like to be a 1099, talk about real estate professional status. What if you're married? What if your wife's a homemaker?
Right.
Lots
Turning
and
your
lots
business
of
into a nonprofit.
Rolex.
Which is a whole different level of wealth and status, where a lot of, and I've learned this recently, a lot of nonprofit owners get together with these nonprofit elites, and they all find ways to donate or raise money for each other's nonprofits.
Rolex is a not-for-profit company.
Which is so crazy.
The watchmaking company. Yeah. So so the next step really in how do you do finances, it was like a curtain was drawn back. And I'm happy that we get to articulate that and just kind of talk about it and share those experiences. Now, the last 6 weeks, you've heard very little from us. What's the first thing we dealt with when I got back from the UK?
The very first thing?
Oh, yeah.
You mean the hotel or what area?
Oh, just our real estate portfolio.
Oh,
that we allegedly run like a business.
Yeah, we came back to a big loss that was in our blind spot.
What was the loss?
About 100 grand.
100 grand. So here we are. We're FU Money Podcast, Business Wealth Blueprints. We're going to be coming out with everything that happened around how we lost the money, how we didn't notice we lost the money, how we found out we lost the money, and what we're doing about it.
Yeah.
And maybe we go out of business. Hey, if we go out of business, the phone's free. I can go post up at a coffee shop. You guys will still know what happens. So
you're going to see a nice office in the background.
Yeah, you're going to get to watch us slowly sink into the abyss if needed. So that was, I got back. We dealt with that for like 4 weeks. And then what happened?
Well, we had an entire employee shift, or is that what you're referring to? We had to reshuffle our entire staff at a location with another location. And this usually can completely screw a business.
If we didn't have strong systems and processes in place and strong people, because of what you're going to learn from this podcast.
Well, so effectively we played musical chairs at a very high level, put a better solution in place, and pretty much saved the day.
And just high level, we're going to be talking about that too, but we caught someone who we believed to be stealing.
Yeah.
He's our second oldest employee.
Yeah.
And so we had to do something about it.
Right.
And that was...
And these are problems every business owner faces.
Yeah. When you get better, it does not mean you don't have problems, right? Seating matters, fast cap. It's not that they don't have problems. It's that their problems that they deal with are usually, they see them coming earlier on, and they're usually more proactive.
They'll act almost immediately.
As opposed to most business owners or most people with their life. They don't respond at all. They're just completely reactionary to everything they do.
Right. And I think the biggest takeaway from anyone listening, or us included, is this is a people game. We're people. You will always make mistakes as people. You will work with people who make a lot of mistakes. And a lot of times it's the people part, the people making decision part, that screws it all up. If you don't have a good system and process, you will run into problem after problem, one of which, and I think I've shared on previous episodes, because I didn't follow a process, we were in hot water with a contractor on a property that is quickly becoming upside down because I was being lenient as a person and betting on the person instead of just following the process. And that has been a painful lesson to learn.
Well, then there's also people and partnerships.
Yes, which we'll get into on another episode. I'm not even ready to go down that road yet.
And I'm going to throw this out there. We have just so much good stuff coming. Why? You're talking about failures. Why is it important for us to talk about our failures?
Well, I look at it like this, and I've had two people bring this up to me in the very recent past. They're talking about their dads, and they were talking about growing up, their dads seemed perfect. And throughout their life, when they reach a certain age where you gotta, flap your own wings and get out in the real world, they royally made some big mistakes. And the shame and guilt involved caused them to go down a whole different path. And later in life, they both figured out that their dads were also pretty crazy, fun, wild people, but were trying to be something that they weren't, right? They were trying to hide their problems, their vulnerabilities. And both equally said to me, had they just been open and honest, there would have been a lot of learning, and I think I would have chosen a better path. I look at us in business as the same thing. Just because we know a lot does not mean that we are the perfect dads, right? Perfect financial
I'll be your perfect dad.
Right. And so what we're trying to do is be vulnerable, show where the flaws and the weaknesses in our systems have failed us, and where even we as people have made bad decisions, so that anyone listening to this, one, can be like, wow, one, it's okay to make a mistake. Two, there is light at the end of the tunnel. And three, we really want to gain that credibility and trust with the audience and say, hey, we don't know everything, but we are here to figure it out together and share what we've done wrong and what we've done very right.
What's super exciting about this too is so many, I don't know, fake real estate gurus and fake wealth building people, and any guru. I mean, you marry anyone who thinks they're a guru.
Will tell you that they just knock it out of the park.
Well, and they're presenting this false persona, and it's all pictures of girls in bikinis on the beach and stuff. It's like, no, things go wrong. Things go wrong all the time. I want you guys to see our flaws. I want you to know what went wrong. I want you to know that we probably have no idea why it happened. Well, we can figure it out. You're going to learn and hear about our problem-solving process, how we've dealt with it, and then overcome it. And then guess what's going to happen? At some point in the future, there's going to be another problem. Problems continuously happen. We had a $100,000 problem where we were losing $100,000, and we didn't notice for 8 months. And then I was like, hey, we're doing all this stuff, we're making all this money on this other thing, but we don't seem to have any more money. Where'd all our money go? And that's when we discovered it. And so it was not checking your numbers, not knowing your numbers. I'm pretty sure in one of the previous podcasts on the SBR podcast, which is now BWB, that I talked about knowing your numbers.
Or being too busy to know your numbers, to take time to understand what knowing your numbers means, or finding the right person to help you. A lot of times it's because we're too damn busy. We were too busy, in my opinion, and we just didn't see a hole in the boat.
Yep.
Until all of a sudden the hole started to sink us. We're like, oh shit.
Like, oh, this is not good.
Yeah. And two things I want to point out. One, the community that we're engaging in, we want that community to be vulnerable, share things in the comments and be like, here's what I'm facing. And that way, one, we can answer it, or find people smarter than us who would answer that, so that you don't have to go, figure out some community or other thing to get answers from that may or may not be what you're looking for or accurate. Two, moving forward, there will be a small community of people who will join BWB, who will have the opportunity to work with other business owners who are very successful but also make mistakes. And we run what's called the hot seat. The hot seat, which is one of my favorite, but also one of the most painful things that we do, is we get around other successful entrepreneurs, business owners, real estate investors, and we present a problem we're dealing with. And you sit in a room, a digital room, with all these incredible minds, and they start to give you very hard but justified feedback, and so that you can find solutions. This podcast is really about that. How do we be vulnerable so we can find solutions, to build great wealth together, to build great communities together? And that's one thing I wanted to point out. Look for things like that in the future as we start to launch these initiatives. Invite people to the broader community that we're creating. And that's where I think the real wealth will be built.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we have the Community Business Wealth Blueprint, and that is going to be a closed-knit circle of entrepreneurs who really want to struggle. And there's already been a ton of people giving incredible feedback. I think somebody 5x'd their business in there already. But our YouTube channels, our Facebook, our podcasts will always be free. We're always going to be telling you the information as it comes. And again, the moment we solve this problem, a new problem will pop up. And then when we solve that problem, another new problem will pop up. And life is about the more tools in your toolbox, the better you can respond to problems. And luckily for us, all we do every day is we solve hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of tiny problems, and we work that rep. Through the podcast, we're going to show you the blueprints on exactly how to get that working in your own life, so you can face any problems you might have.
Absolutely.
Cool. Anything else for the listeners and viewers?
No, but I'm looking forward to the rebrand.
Woo!
Yep.
Thanks so much for sticking around to watch. Please help us by watching this next video.